Greetings. Welcome to a News of the Day for Saturday. And yeah, there's a lot of writing on the board because there's more research that I needed to do on the main story from today, which is the saving, which happened yesterday, of the University of Alabama Huntsville. Now, Cam Talbot helped to raise the money, and they end up raising the money that they needed. And it looked ugly the way this was done. And certainly, I understand why the schools. I get a lot of the sides of this. So Darren Dawson, school president, basically on Monday said I want $1 million. $1 million to keep the hockey program, or I'm going to turf it. And so he raised 250 from two big donors right away who gave 125 grand each. So there was 750,000 left to be raised. Um, and the idea was that if it wasn't raised by Friday, he'd just axe the hockey program. Now, this went viral pretty quickly, where people were like, hey, they're going to cut hockey. That's not going to be a thing. They're the only NCAA Division One program in the South, and it's important to the city of Huntsville. It is. It spurs local youth hockey, and there are youth hockey players there that say I'm playing because the college program, and there are people who've gone down to Huntsville and gone through their college education through that program and stayed in Huntsville as well. This is the second time, though, in 9 years that it's needed to be resurrected, which that's where your red flag shows up. So that's where I said, okay, wait a minute. They've needed to resurrect it twice in 9 years. There's a problem here. Now, it's being characterized as kind of a Dr. Evil thing to say I need $1 million or I'm going to cancel the whole thing. And the reality is that Darren Dawson, who runs the school, he's not a hockey person. And they're not really business people either that are in charge. They're just looking at their school programs and they're saying, all right, uh, we fund $1.5 million into hockey, which is an underfunded program anyways at $1.5 million. We take that $1.5 million away. They also canceled tennis. That brought another 300 grand back to the school. We can take that 1.8 million, which represents about 25% of our overall budget, and we can spread that around other sports, and we can better fund the other sports that we have going on in the school. It's not an evil plan, and I understand why the plan is what it is. It's of course something that people rallied against, and they've saved it. But the fact that it does need better marketing, you need more fan support, because NCAA sports, fan attendance is important. And they need corporate donations. They need local corporate sponsors more than what they have. They also they don't have their own campus arena. So other campuses, you'll have the arena on campus, and they have to fight with the Huntsville Havoc for ice time. So the Huntsville Havoc I believe that's the SPHL, correct. And so they're both sharing an arena, and that makes it difficult because you've got situations where they're probably looking for one date, and Huntsville's like, no, we've already got that. And they don't have a conference either. They had a conference until last summer when they were dropped, where the college conference just dropped them. And I don't know if it's because they are the only NCAA Division One program in the South. Maybe it was for scheduling reasons. I don't know what it is, but this is why this part's in red. So the work's been done. $1 million has been raised. Everything's saved. We can have our cheering moment. But unless the underlying issues with this program are fixed, unless you see increased fan support, unless you see increased merchandise sales, which I understand were very strong during this week as well, unless you see some sort of groundswell of support that offsets the costs of the program, the Chargers, which is the name of their hockey team, the Chargers are going to find themselves on life support again. Because again, you're in the southern states, they're going to look and go, well, hockey's really expensive. And regardless of what the expenses are, it is more expensive to have a hockey team and a hockey program than it will be for others. So it is a program that's been underfunded. It's in an area that, again, being the only Division One team in there in any I don't know what the radius would be between themselves and anywhere else that you have an NCAA Division One program, but there are challenges going forward. So yes, kudos to Cam Talbot for helping to save the hockey program, and to people who donated, awesome. But now the tough part comes in. It's sort of like in the 80s when we had the whole Live Aid thing for everybody starving, and then starvation went away. That's sort of how I feel. Like, We have big fundraisers. Everybody gives money and they go, yes. Now, it's great if it's a one-time deal and it's the only time somebody's going to need money and you go, there you go. And they go, thank you so much. But when it's a program and it's an ongoing program, this means you have to have the ongoing support. So without corporate backing and without something to offset the costs, at some point the school's going to be looking at this again and saying, we understand that it upsets people, but we can't afford to keep spending on this because it takes away from our ability to put a football team out or a baseball team or whatever other sports they have to fund. And yeah, we'll see what happens from here. But it's a deeper dive than just, yay, Talbot saves the day and they got their $1 million. Everything's great. Everybody go home. Because again, after Live Aid, all right, we solved hunger. Good night, everybody. Nope. Rangers announced today they are throwing Sean Day on unconditional waivers. How the mighty have fallen. I remember when he was granted exceptional status in the OHL, and he was viewed as a guy who's going to be a top 2, top 3 draft pick. And now he's on unconditional waivers. Yeah, he was in the East Coast Hockey League for most of the year, and I don't know. It's just it didn't work out. The pro career thing didn't work out for him. This is why I always make the argument of it's best for some of these college kids to do their best to get as much education as possible before they turn pro. I do kind of have to tip the hat to the ones that stay in school, because you just never know. You just never know whether or not a player is going to be a big star at the NHL level or not. And so for Sean Day, we'll see what's next for him. I would think he'll get a tryout somewhere because that raw talent is still there. There's a reason he had exceptional status. It just hasn't translated at the NHL level. Maybe he ends up in Europe. Speaking of Europeans, poor segue there. Flyers have signed Linus Högberg to an entry-level contract. He gets a 2-year deal. Defenseman, 2016 draft pick, number 139 overall for the Flyers. So they add a little bit of depth to the blue line, and we should see him at least in training camp for them next season. And so good pickup there by Philadelphia, getting guys signed. And again, the signing deadline for your entry-level contracts has been pushed back to July 1st. Normally, it's a couple of days from now on June 1st, but it's July 1st now. I also want to throw in, I'm wearing a Minnesota jersey. I'm going to say this straight up. Of course, I know what's going on with Minnesota. I watched the news last night, and I have to say that the situation in the United States right now is volatile. And I can't proclaim to have great knowledge and great solutions for everything, because if I did, I wouldn't be here being a YouTuber. I'd be up somewhere talking at some kind of event about how to fix things. I don't know how you fix things. And I was even talking to my wife, and it reminds us of the LA riots after Rodney King. This is how it feels to us, and the fact that all these decades later we're still having this conversation. It's not something that I cover here, as being this is a hockey channel and we talk about hockey, but of course I know what's going on. And so for everybody, I hope everybody's safe. I don't agree with a lot of things that I see going on, and I get it, I do. And I know Evander Kane came out and he had a statement yesterday, and again, I see Evander Kane's statement and I go, okay, I'm not in a position to say anything. I'm in Western Canada for one, and I haven't seen or dealt with a lot of the things that people are talking about. I haven't really seen or been around it, and so for me, I feel like while I have a channel with a large number of subscribers, and I'm very grateful for every subscriber I have, I don't have words of wisdom at this point. I don't have, despite the large number of subscribers this channel has, relatively speaking, especially compared to what it was when it started, right? I would love to give some kind of guidance on this. I hope people are safe, and I hope there's some rational, sane answer to everything. As far as I can go. And 2020 can eat a large bag, a buffet as it were. And for fans of Archer, you're going to know what I'm alluding to. Eat a large bag. Or Rick and Morty, too. where Rick said that Morty's parents were a bag of, and I laughed really hard at that this week. So, yeah. So there you go. I do know what's going on. I do watch the news, and I do think that there's a lot more to it than just something. I think we're conditioned now to go, all right, so how do we fix it? And it's just not that simple. It is so not that simple, and it is a gradual thing that, again, yeah, we'll see how things go. And does this affect the whole hub city thing? Yes, I would think it has to. I would think if you're the National Hockey League, you have to look at what's going on and say, well, we want to make sure that we're going somewhere that's stable too. So this has to affect the hub cities argument. All right. The last thing I wanted to stop with is the Judd bracket discussion with Vancouver, and I don't mean to belittle the work that Brackett's done as the director of amateur scouting. He's been good. There are 16 members of the amateur scouting staff that remain. I would offer the job to Thomas Gradine myself if I was in charge of making that decision. I don't know that Gradine would necessarily want it. They have Lars Lindgren as one of their amateur scouts. Tim Lenarden. There are numerous players who played for the Canucks that are now scouts that they could go to, and I think that they'll do fine. And one of the reasons I mentioned 16 members is because amateur scouting, the director's important. I'm not going to diminish the importance of the director, but you have a lot of scouts for a reason. These guys are all voices in the room, and every scout is capable of finding those diamonds in the rough. They're also capable of making mistakes, but they are capable of those diamonds in the rough. And it would be interesting at some point to go through the scouting staffs for every team in the NHL and just pull like former NHLer names that are scouts for professional teams that we as fans may not realize for other teams and go, oh, that guy's a scout now. I didn't even realize. And so, yeah, I thought that was an interesting way to kind of close things off. So, again, I hope everybody's safe wherever you are, whatever you're going through right now. 2020 needs to go away. I agree. But hey, this is part of the reason why when hockey announced it was coming back, there was such a large upswell of we need that distraction. And I would still make the argument that if done safely, that distraction can be really, really nice right now. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. And yeah, people saying there were audio issues with the last video. Yeah, I have my window open a bit and there was a truck that's just parked. And, I get to the point sometimes when I'm making videos where there are so many trucks driving by and there's so much noise in the neighborhood and everybody's got like leaf blowers out and chainsaws. And it's like all of them go, how are we going to deck with the hockey guy today? I know, let's all make noise at the same time. Hey, Billy, does 9:30 work for you? Yeah, it works fine for me there, Sven. I'll see you at 9:30. All right, Sven and Billy, they get things started. And then from there, my day just gets really noisy, gets really frustrating. There a couple of days ago, I actually went upstairs and my wife looks at me and goes, what? I'm like, yeah, so I can't work right now, so I might as well watch you make masks and stuff. Anyways, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.